It's the Flow Friday Night Sports Show, and let's talk Eyre Peninsula Netball now with the Queen of EP Netball. She's back again, Jo Franklin. How are you?
To say that the grand final nerves have kicked in, probably an understatement.
Yes, and rightly so. We've got a couple of grand finals to talk about. In Great Flinders, we're not quite there yet, though. We've still got
we're not.
Preliminary finals to get through this weekend. So let's have a look back to last week. The second semi-finals. We've got our first batch of grand finalists through. And we'll start with the Little E graders, Elliston Districts, through to the grand final. They had a really convincing win over United Yolana in the end, 42-25.
Yeah, they did. They really did. And look, it was a little bit wet and a little bit windy and quite cold at Ungarra, so these little kids did quite well. But, Elliston 42 did defeat Yolana 25, and in that game, Miley Agars was best for Elliston and Charmaine Crosby for Yolana. And an interesting factor there about Bria Feltus, Sharon and Scotty's daughter, did a really, really good job in goals there. So she's obviously taking after her mum there, because at that age her mum was a very, very good goalie as well. So, but yeah, well done to those little kids out there that early in the morning. And then we move through to the D grade, Jace, with Elliston Districts 27 defeating Tumby Bay 21. Now at half time it was 11-all in this game. At three-quarter time, it was 18-all. So everybody was dashing around trying to think, what do we do in the case of a final and a draw?
Yeah.
However, Elliston did pull away in the last quarter to take that 6-goal win. And Claire Daniel, the goalkeeper for Elliston Districts, and Taryn Binky in defence for Tumby Bay were the best players there. They took us through to the seniors with the B Rezzies. Elliston Districts 25 defeated Tumby Bay 22. Close game here, and I think if everybody has their own, that Tumby Bay led for most of that game. Elliston Districts just got over in the last quarter. Best players there were Samara Fisher for Elliston Districts and Monique Trenberth for Tumby Bay. That brings us through to the B grade. This was a huge win to the Cougars, defeating Elliston Districts. Yeah, it was a massive win. Look, at quarter time, there was only 4 goals in it. And then by half time, it was 32-17. So it was just a huge second quarter. And so those girls, Cougars girls, are looking very cherry ripe for the grand final. I think best there. Shaz Letton back to her golden years.
Yes, yes.
She's
still
really
got it.
stepped up. She has still got it. She was the best back there in defence for Cougars, and Neve Tomney was best for Elliston Districts. In the A Rezzies, Cougars 43 defeated Lock 29. Now, certainly would never have predicted that scoreline in this game. Lock just got off they shot the first 3 goals, but then they let Cougars right back in, and Cougars really settled and ran away with it for the rest of that quarter, and Lock just never really got back in the game. Second quarter, they actually did win that by a goal, but it was quite a low-scoring second quarter. So, Cougars would be pretty happy going through with that win, I would think, because they've had much closer games than that during the season. Billy Thompson, young Billy Thompson, was best for Cougars there in the centre quarter, and Hayley Pearce in the centre court for Lock. That brought us through to the A1 game.
Yes.
Where, Cougars had the win there by 9 goals. So, they interesting game. It was quite close. It was Ella Wedd's 50th game, so there was quite a bit of a hoo-ha about all that at the beginning of the game, which is awesome. But there was just plenty of defensive pressure by both teams all game. But the young guns of Molly Burns and Holly Gale for Cougars, who since they've been put together in that defensive circle, have really worked so well together, and they really made Courtney Hull and Tash Paul work for every goal that they got. And for, a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old to be doing that against the experience of Courtney and Tash is just a fantastic effort. And, full credit to those two kids. But at the other end, Kelsey Hull, she was working so hard, the poor thing, for Elliston in defence. But Ella Wedd and Hannah Green have been a really awesome combination all year, and certainly stood up in this second semi. Elliston were trying a few different tactics. They were trying to really block up that centre court with a bit of a zone and try and really slow down the Cougars' ball movement into their circle. But look, the experience of Morgs, McDonald and Jet Green was just too much in the end, and they were able to break through that and get the ball quite easily to flow into Ella and Hannah in the end. And the interesting matchup, Lorena Heberman and Morgs, that was a pretty tight contest there in the centre. With Morgs probably coming out just in front. But, Elliston tried a few things. They brought on a new goaler combination in the last quarter. They brought on Kate Lowby and Zali Newton, but it was all to no avail because Cougars just actually have continued their undefeated way into the grand final, and it will be very interesting to see just who they will take on. Holly Gale, best for Cougars at the ripe old age of 15, and Kelsey Hull in defence for Elliston Districts was their best.
All right.
So all in all, a big day.
All in all, a good day indeed. The Elliston Districts crew, few through to the grand final, a couple cashing in their double chances this week in preliminary final action for Great Flinders. I believe they're all heading to lock this weekend.
Yes, they are heading to lock this weekend, and weather doesn't look too bad, although I think it's a little bit of rain later in the day maybe. But, there's some very good games happening here again this week, Jace. In the E grade, we have United Jelana taking on Ramblers at 10:30. The Eagle girls have a 3-0 win record here, so for this season. So I'm thinking that they'll probably continue that record. In the D grade, Tumby Bay will be smarting from their loss last week to get that close to nearly going straight into a grand final and then having to play a prelim. They'll be hurting, and they certainly will want to take the upper hand against United Jelana, and that game is at 12 o'clock. The B Resis are at 1:30, where Tumby Bay will take on Lock. Lock, they had a really big win in the first semi, and Tumby led for most of the game last week, so they'll be wanting to really make sure that they put it together for 4 quarters this week, and I reckon they'll probably get the better block in that one. Right. In the B grade, Elliston Districts are playing Eyre United at 3 o'clock. Now, this is the only team that Eyre United have in, so they will really be hoping that they can get through and get to have one team playing in a grand final. Elliston have won the last 2 games, interestingly, by 6 goals in each game. I think it will be really, really close. Look, for Eyre United, I'd love them to get over the line so that they had somebody in a grand final for the district to go and support, but I think the Elliston Districts are probably just got a little bit of experience there. Resis, Lock are taking on Elliston Districts at 1:30. Now, both teams have had a 1-goal win during the season, so it is going to be tight, and Lock certainly will want to make amends for their effort from last week, and they are desperate to get back and have another crack at Cougars. So I think that it will be on for young and old in this game. Elliston certainly have some real experience and some real height in their side. Having said that, Lock still have Kiara Williams, who's also quite tall, and have a bit of experience in there with Amy Warner. Both girls have been involved in finals. So, interesting game. And I'm thinking that Lock would also like to get through to a grand final in that grade and have a rematch with Cougars. I'm thinking that they might be pushing it uphill a little bit. I think Elliston Districts might just get this one.
Right. Okay. And then we got the A grade.
We certainly have, and won't this be an interesting game? They've had, Elliston are playing Ramblers at 3 o'clock, and they've had 1 win each as well, so going to be tight. Look, the Kelsey Hull, Keely Masson matchup is going to be massive, and that is probably where the game will be won or lost, I think. Look, they're both tall and determined players. Then you've got Nikki Schubert, with her experience and strength, she'll have that advantage over Matilda Preddy, who is a young goal attack. And, her and Keely have really worked hard on their combination, but Nikki's so strong in there. So I think that Matilda will really have to be on her game and will have to really, really step up to make sure that she gives Keely the assistance in the goal circle that she'll need. Look, Elliston have the experience in the centre court with Lorena Heberman, Charlie Manane and Zoe Phelps. They've they've played in multiple finals. Those girls have so much experience, and they are just relentless. So the very young Rambler girls in Sid Claughton and Lily Nettle and Ava Pedler, they will really have to work harder than they have ever worked before for the whole game. Never count kids out because you just don't know what they're going to bring on the day. And I know that Kills is hoping that they will bring it. Abby Lee Burrows was Ramblers best and fairest at their count last Saturday night. Maddie Creddy is coming home. They'll be working together in defence on the experience of Courtney Hull and Tash Paul. When they're hot, and they are unbelievable shooters. So they will really have their time cut out there. They're the Ramblers girls. But look, I just really hope that those young Rambler girls don't get overawed by the occasion, because we know that kids can do that. But I really hope that they can show that they can handle the pressure in the finals and make it a really close, interesting game. And it'll be interesting to see who comes out the winner. What do you reckon, Chase?
Well, I think Elliston Districts might get through here. I think they're still around the mark. It was death by 1,000 cuts in that second semi. They lost every quarter, but they lost every quarter by 1 or 2 goals here and there. It was that 5-goal start that really hurt them, and they were chasing their tail from quarter time on. So I think Elliston Districts are still a good thing to win this. Yeah,
look, I would love to say that the young Rambler girls would be able to get over the line with their two older ones at either end. But I think the experience in finals, you can't beat that, and that's what Elliston have got.
Yep, agreed. All right, that takes care of great Flinders action. Let's move on now to Eastern Eyre, where it is grand final day tomorrow, and we had a look back now to preliminary final action at Cow from last week. Let's start with the Littlins, the Little E2s, and it's Central Eyre United through to a grand final.
Yes, it is, and they defeated Ports 18, and the poor Ports, unfortunately for them, as we go through the scores, they didn't actually end up with anybody getting through in the netball, but they're much happier with their football.
Yes.
You have caused some upsets. In the E2s, Central Eyre United 22 defeated Ports 18. In the E grade, Central Eyre United 30 defeated Ports 23. So, in both those games, they were right in it. They were really competitive. Unfortunately, in the D grade, they weren't quite so competitive. Eastern Rangers 40 defeated Ports 21. The C3, Kimber 40 defeated Ports 16. That Kimber side have got a few, can I use the word older girls, with a fair bit of talent. So in the C2, Eastern Rangers 33 defeated Cow 32.
Ooh.
So close, very disappointing. In the C grade, Kimber 47 defeated Eastern Rangers 43. So another close one there. In the B grade, Rangers 52 defeated Central Eyre United 30. They put their foot down and they just went for it, those Rangers girls, unfortunately for Central Eyre United. And in the A grade, did not predict that it would be this scoreline, Jace. I actually thought it might have been a little bit closer than this, but Rangers were obviously smarting from last week and were determined to make amends, and they ended up winning the A grade 52 to Central Eyre United 36. So, they definitely wanted that rematch. Lauren and Nicole Symes, they really got on top early in the goal circle, unfortunately for Central Eyre United, and also unfortunate for Central Eyre United, Abby, Bruce and Tony Tomney in their goals. We're just not able to get the better of the height and strength of Jordan Hooper or Erin Roberts, who evidently were very, very good. So that's probably, I would suggest, where the game was won for Eastern Rangers, really, that they were able to get enough turnover ball back down to Lauren and Nicole to give them plenty of opportunity to score. The centre court was pretty evenly matched up, evidently, and in the end, Rangers just put their foot to the floor and they've been able to win that preliminary final in quite good fashion, I guess, dominating fashion, and will take themselves through to a grand final. They also, after that game, Jace, they did their junior medal count.
Yes, so we had the D grade, the E grade and the E2 winners.
Yes, we do. So the E2 winners, the runner-up was a young Sophie Little from Central Eyre United. And the best and fairest there was Azali Zelkirk from Ports with 26 votes. There was double runners up there because a young Alex Redden from Kimber was also on 18 points with Sophie as a runner-up there. In the E grade, the runner-up, Isabel Redden from Kimber with 21 votes. And the best and fairest there, Carly Isabel from Kimber with 23 votes. And those both those names would be very familiar to you, Jason. Both their mums are very good Kimber players and probably have won a couple of medals between them themselves.
Yep.
And in the D grade, the runner-up was Rebecca Sampson from Central Eyre United with 16 votes, who gave a lovely speech thanking Eastern Eyre for accepting them into their association and making them feel welcome, which is really lovely. And the medal winner there was Miranda Millard from Ports with 17 votes, who is one of there's triplets. So I'm just hoping that they got the right votes for the right triplet in each of those games, but I'm sure they did. And Miranda was the winner there. So quite a bit of talent there amongst those junior medal winners.
Fantastic. So that takes us through to grand final day. Now it's at Cleve. I think 3 out of the 5 clubs will be represented on the day, with, unfortunately, Cow and Ports not having any teams playing grand final day. Have I got that right?
Yeah, you have, and that's a little bit unfortunate for both those clubs. But at least I guess they did get teams right through to prelim finals, so that's something for them to build on. And for Ports, it was their juniors, so something for them to build on there with some good numbers and some good performances there. So, but yeah, unfortunately for both those clubs, they don't get to take any teams to Cleve tomorrow.
There's plenty of teams that will be at Cleve, though. We will start with the E-grade girls. Let's go through the program. Who's playing who and when? So
at 9:30, we have the E-grade with Kimber taking on Central Eyre United. Umpires there will be Phoebe Hazelgrove and Carly Woods. Would think that Kimber should get away with the win there. Yep. Interesting how many sides Central Eyre United have got through, actually. At 10:45, it's the E2. Kimber will be taking on Central Eyre United. Umpires there are Carmen Hampel and Kate Semlick. So, again, I think Kimber might get through there. 11 o'clock is the D grade. Central Eyre United are taking on Eastern Rangers. This could be really, really interesting. And you just, with 15-year-old girls or 15-year-old, you just don't really know what you're going to get with them. If Central Eyre United do bring the goods on the day, then I think they probably could certainly run away with this game. Eastern Rangers, I'm sure, will be out to make sure that doesn't happen. The umpires there, Sharon Shorty-Rodder and Megan Llewellyn. At 12:15, we have the C2. Central Eyre United again are taking on Eastern Rangers. Umpires there, Vicky Klingberg and Lauren Hanneman. Central Eyre United, yeah, they've sort of had a little bit of the wood there throughout the season, so maybe, but who knows in a grand final. 12:30, the B grade, Kimber are taking on Eastern Rangers. Lee Mitchell and Rihanna Foster is coming up from Great Flinders to help to umpire that B grade game. So a bit of a neutral umpire there is always really interesting. So, Kimber have certainly been the dominant force in the B grade this year, so I certainly think that they will probably come through there. Now, look, this could be one of the highlights of the day, Chase, believe you me. So at 1:30, the new C3 grade are playing. Now, I would not like to know how many premierships there are between these two clubs, the girls who are playing in these two teams. Believe you me, it would just be unbelievable, I would think. When you've got the likes of Carmen Hampel and Jo Turner and Mandy Symes and some of those other girls in Eastern Rangers who've just had premierships after premierships up against the Kimber girls who have also just got so many premierships between them. Umpires there are Tish Masters and William Sampson. Great to see him getting a grand final game. I think Eastern Rangers there, they've got a very, very handy, tall side, experienced side there. 1:45, the C grade, Central Eyre United are taking on Kimber. The umpires there are Mignon Dunn and Phoebe Hazelgrove, and Central Eyre United, they might come away with a premiership there, a senior premiership along, and I guess for them that's what they're hoping for. And then that brings us to the A grade at 3 o'clock. Jason. Kimber are taking on Eastern Rangers. Yet again, these two teams go head to head. And the matchups, I know that Kimber had a pretty easy second semi-final win, but I think that the Eastern Rangers probably needed that preliminary final run just to have a bit of extra time together to work through a few things. You've got Jess Clements, who is the medalist for the A grade up there. She'll be up against Erin Roberts. You've got young Lucy Klingberg against such a tall Jordan Hooper, and it seems as if she's really got back in form again. The centre court duels is what I'm really, really interested in, Jace, with Geordie McCullum, who evidently, she did in the second semi, really shut Kate Semlick down, and I think that is a key to Eastern Rangers, because if she doesn't get that easy feed into those two goalers, then it certainly does cause havoc. But, Kimber have also got Savannah Shippard and Alyssa Moore through the centre, with Eastern Rangers having Nia Gillings and young Tessa Dunn has really stood up. She's had to come in when the Rangers lost Amy Allen and Tamika Wren earlier in the year, and she really had to come into that wing defence position and stand up, and that she has done. So she's done a really good job for a young one. In the goal circle, you've got Lauren and Nicole Symes against the experience of Shiley Harris and Amber Pengelly, who in grand finals have certainly always taken all before them and will be causing havoc down there for the Rangers girls. So all in all, look, Kimber, they'll be the red-hot favourites. There's no question about that. But as we all know, Jace, being the red-hot favourite doesn't necessarily count for anything on grand final day. So
that's true.
They could be right for the picking, or they might just really run away with it. And I'm thinking that they might just do that.
Well, it'll be a cracking day at Cleve, that's for sure. COVID protocols in place for grand final day. Remember that. Also going to be a big grand final day down in Port Lincoln. Joe, any nerves?
Oh, yeah, there are. There are nerves this way. Look, bit of trivia, I guess, but in Port Lincoln, the grand finals are tomorrow. Weather looks like it won't be too bad until later in the day. Waybacks have 8 out of their 13 teams who are playing in grand final. Wanilla have 7 teams in grand finals tomorrow. All of them are their senior grades. And in fact, in the A2 final, it's the Wanilla 1 team playing a Wanilla 2 team. So that's
Wanilla are in that, I reckon. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So starting in the morning at 10 o'clock with the 11 Div 2s, Waybacks will take on Imperials, and in the 13 Div 2s, Imperials will be taking on Bostons, and in the 15 Div 2s, Waybacks will be taking on Bostons. We then move through to the 11:30 time slot where the Div 1s will play. So in the 11 Div 1s, Waybacks will be taking on Ravendale Storm, and good to see them have a couple of junior sides through to finals. In the 13 Div 1s, Waybacks will be taking on Imperials. In the 15 Div 1s, Waybacks will be taking on Bostons, and who knows what 15-year-olds are going to bring on the day, Jace. Fingers crossed that my girls can bring exactly what they know they need to, but the Boston side is certainly a very strong and have been very tough all season. They have beaten us a couple of times, so that'll be an interesting game for people to get along to. The up-and-comers of the juniors at 11:30. We then have the seniors, A3 Resis. Wanilla are taking on Ravendale Storm. In the A3, Imperials are taking on Wanilla. In the A2 reserves, Waybacks are taking on Wanilla 2. In the A2s, Wanilla are playing Waybacks. Wanilla 2, sorry. In the A1 Res, Wanilla are taking on Waybacks. And in the A1s, Wanilla versus Waybacks at 3:45. Waybacks are making their 6th appearance in a row in a grand final, as you would be well aware of, Jace. Yeah. It will be a very, very interesting game. The girls believe that they owe Wanilla 1 because the last time we played them in a grand final, they did cause the upset. So tomorrow is certainly their opportunity to redeem themselves. And, of course, as unbiased as I am about that, I'm pretty sure that they could absolutely cause that. I don't know that it's so much an upset because they've actually even, Jace, they've both beaten each other the same amount of times. But when you've got a game really worthwhile going to watch, Chase. When you've got Emily Yanzik against a Gemma Seal, a Cassie Norton against a Mickey Each, a Jess Nielsen against Ilka Stone, a Clover Keeley against a Brooke Moore. They are all absolute massive matchups. There is so much experience there, so much talent, EP players, Premier League players. It's just amazing the amount of talent that will be out on that court tomorrow. So, hopefully people will get out and support that. Unfortunately for the Waybacks girls, the Waybacks boys are playing in the finals. Fortunately, in the prelim final. Fortunately for the Wanilla girls, their boys aren't. So it could be very interesting how much noise is in the crowd supporting which team. But certainly a worthwhile game to get along and have a look at, Jade.
All right, at the Ravendale Courts, grand final day for the netballers this weekend. Joe, good luck to you and your little under-15 girls. Hopefully they can have a win for you.
Oh, thanks, Jace. It would be fantastic.
And good luck to everyone hitting the courts across Eyre Peninsula this weekend. That's where we'll leave it for now. Joe Franklin, all the very best and enjoy the netball this weekend.
No worries. We all hope to do that, and you have a great weekend as well.